Those who watched our previous interview, we had some technical difficulties then, and we're still trying to work out some kinks here, so thank you for bearing with us. So, first off, I want to welcome and introduce Ken Connelly. I will tell you that Ken has been here since March of this year, and we haven't had the opportunity to properly present him to the large core of our residents here at the community. Of course, Ken has been out and about in a variety of meetings, but we thought this was a great opportunity and one that I wish I could take credit for. Lon Bishop, who is the former president of the Resident Association, had suggested that perhaps we do something like this forum, and we've taken advantage of that idea. It was a terrific idea. So we've had one interview to date, and that was with Chaplain Eileen, which I thought was a great place for us to start. We're going to continue this effort, and Ken raised his hand and said he would be next up, and after Ken we will interview Ann Kempsel, who's our Vice President of Sales, and we'll reintroduce some longer-term team members here to you, not only with Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland, but also at Carroll Lutheran Village and Lutheran Village at Miller's Grant. I think it'd be great for our residents to get to know many of our key team members here. So again, welcome to Ken, and thank you for being here today. So we're going to ask Ken a series of questions today, and they're mostly geared around getting to know him. So they're more about family and life and what gets him up during the day and gets him going. But we're also going to slip in a few work-related questions because I know that some folks out there may have some burning questions about what Ken is up to these days, and so hopefully he can fill that void. So first off, ask an easy question. Please tell us about your family.
Thanks, Jeff. And I am thrilled to have the opportunity to get in front of a lot of our residents that I have not met yet. And it's been a bit of a challenge, and I feel as we move through this pandemic, we'll continue to find ways to meet our residents around campus. So that is definitely one of my goals. My family, I live in Vienna, Virginia. I was actually born and raised in Maryland, in Silver Spring, Maryland. Met my wife 1994, got married in 95, have two beautiful daughters. One's in college right now at Old Dominion University, and one is in high school, 9th grade, at Oakton High School in Oakton, Virginia. And we also have a dog named Lucky. And so that's pretty much our family, but my family is, most of my family is in the Maryland area. I live in Virginia, and as I said, and it's a beautiful place, but my heart's always been in Maryland.
So tell me, during COVID-19, we're all struggling with how to keep in touch with friends and family. How are you doing that?
Very cautiously, as everybody else should, and definitely Zoom calls. My parents live in Silver Spring, so for an example, I'll go and we'll have porch visits. And really kind of taking that idea to other relatives as well. Again, practicing that safe physical distancing, and just find ways to, if it's not on a virtual call, it will be outside, and like I said, porch, and keeping safe distance, and I think you can have good communication that way with your family.
So a moment or two ago, you mentioned having a dog named Lucky, and what a great name for a dog. Tell us a little bit more about Lucky.
Lucky is a rescue dog, and he was rescued from a pen of about 27 other dogs in West Virginia. And Lucky made his way down to Northern Virginia, where we adopted him through a program, Forever Home. And he's been with us for about 5 years. He's a very curious dog, and he does not like when he's left alone. So sometimes when we're out moving around outside in the town of Vienna, we'll come home and Lucky has left his mark sometimes.
I understand that. So, talk to me about sports. Are you a sports fan? And if so, which sports do you follow and what gets you excited this time of year?
I am a sports fan. I specifically love college football, love professional football, love baseball, love basketball. I'm fond of all the sports. I think this time of year is a great time if you're a sports fan. You've got baseball going on, you've got hockey going on, you've got the start of football season. So this is a great time of year to keep yourself, as a hobby of watching sports and following sports. And this time of year, fall all the way through January, is just a great time if you're a sports fan.
Now, I can tell you that Ken's holding him back a little bit, so you'll have to pepper him with more questions when you get to know Ken. But I can tell you Ken's played a number of sports, and so if there's any sports fans out there that want to engage him in that, great way to get to know him and hear a little bit about his past. So, thinking about our younger years, where did you go to college?
Oh, it wasn't that long ago, Jeff. I did. I went to college at Salisbury University on the eastern shore of Maryland. I had a couple other choices that I potentially was going to go to, but I wanted to continue to play sports at a high school. So Salisbury University was a great place for me to do that, where I played football and also almost walked on the basketball team. So I didn't get that far with it, but that's my college athletic career.
So, in thinking about where you're working and where you've been the last 6 months, you joined Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland back in March. Why did you choose us?
I've been here a little over 6.5 months, and it just reinforces, during that 6.5 months, I had the opportunity to, again, just reinforce why I made the decision. I wanted to join an organization and come to an organization where I could use my skills, my experience, and be a little creative and help Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland and CLV, LVMG grow. So it was a perfect match, and I think it's really given me the opportunity to really appreciate an organization that has has true values and visions.
So, being that Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland is housed currently at Carroll Lutheran Village, what were some of your first impressions of Carroll Lutheran Village?
When I drove up the first time, beautiful. And I will tell you that first impressions are everything. I remember when I first drove up, I was parking. It was a Friday morning, I believe, and of course I got lost. Parked in the wrong spot, got lost, wandered around, and I will tell you, there were 5 people who saw me wandering around that got me where I needed to go at the right time. People seem very, very happy. They seem content, and the first impression was that people like where they're at, and this has been a wonderful place for people to come and live.
I'll echo those comments. I think that that was one of the very first things I realized was how wonderful the residents are. Very outgoing,
Yes.
very willing to help. You have no idea how many times I was pointed in the right direction in my first week or two, especially living at the 201 building. My neighbors were very helpful, so I can understand where you're coming from there. So as the Vice President of Operations, what have you been focused on the most since arriving?
The timing was perfect. I started late February, early March, and that is when the pandemic really started to escalate. So my focus, of course, initially my focus was to meet everyone and to understand some of the requests and direction that, just basically learn about everything. And that includes the residents, our services, our vendors, everything. And it got a little thrown off track with the pandemic. So I've been focusing on that and trying to find ways, obviously, to keep our staff, keep our residents, and keep everyone as safe as I can. But in the background, finding opportunities to really look at areas that have been brought to my attention and trying to find ways to raise them to the next level.
You know, learning and really starting your new job during the beginning of a global pandemic is sort of like taking it from a fire hose. And certainly trial by fire, but to your earlier point about getting to know people, you get to know people pretty quickly and pretty well when something like this happens. And I can tell you that you're probably further ahead of the curve than you would have ever expected. But boy, I'm glad that Ken came on board when he did. He's been a terrific addition to the team, and timing is everything.
Yes, it is.
And I think that mattered in this certain circumstance. So, what are your top 2 or 3 initiatives you'd like to accomplish over the next year as the Vice President?
I think first and foremost is, I know this sounds very generic and everybody hears about it, on TV, is we still have a pandemic. So my goal is to continue to work with our teams to keep everybody as safe as we can, our residents safe and our staff safe. There's so many different opportunities to do that, working with the local health department, the CDC, and the state of Maryland, is finding those resources that are going to keep everyone safe. I think also over the past 6 months, I've learned that there is just so much good opportunity in our community. And just, I think our healthcare center has great opportunity to take it to the next level with more positive outcomes. And and I think also you can always go higher with resident satisfaction. So those are the big, kind of very general focus points.
How do you spend your spare time?
That's a good question. I spend my free time with my family, obviously. I'm still pretty active, go to the gym in a couple classes, play some basketball. But right now, I think it's so important that you are spending time with your family, and I have definitely increased just doing fun things with the family. Just having a Saturday dinner, or last Sunday, just took a drive down to Georgetown with my wife and daughters, and that was fun. So finding ways just to take advantage of not being able to do what some of the things we were able to do before, but being a little bit more creative and really recognizing the value of being with your family.
Yeah. I can completely understand that. I think we've all eaten at home more often than maybe we would have in the past. But I think at the same time, getting into some of those favorite pastimes like board games or card games, things that maybe we've put on the shelf somewhere, and we're revisiting that quite a bit, and I think that makes a huge difference in growing that family bond. And I can say that's probably the silver lining of the pandemic, and one I'm thankful for. So any hobbies that you have that you can still, I know you don't have a ton of free time, but any hobbies?
You know, I think a hobby, you know, I see myself growing more and more fond, believe it or not, of doing some light landscaping projects. Been doing a lot over at my parents' house, over at my in-laws, even at my house. And really finding spare time, if I do have spare time, finding a little landscaping project to do has been good. I also obviously watch sports, very involved with my gym, and do a CrossFit class a couple times a week.
So from a landscaping perspective, and I'll throw out a personal plug here, that if anybody has ideas about trees that are great to grow in Maryland, let me know. Feel free to send me an email or drop by. I'm planting some trees in my yard at this moment and have no idea what I'm doing, so I can use your help. So on to Ken here again. What's your favorite vacation spot and why?
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I spent many a summer in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. When I was growing up, I think I started going there when I was about 5 or 6 and went all the way through college. Been back a couple times. Boy, have things changed, but it is still beautiful, and I would go there any day, anytime.
Is that where we'll find you when you retire?
That's far away. The retirement is far away, Jeff, at this point. But yeah, definitely anywhere where it's warm, where there's a beach, that's where you'll find me.
So describe what we can expect from you as a leader here at this organization.
Approachable, for sure. I think it's very important as a leader to be approachable. I think you'll find I'm a very good listener. And you have to be to take things very seriously and make people feel comfortable with what they are communicating. So I think definitely being approachable, listening, and I am a doer. I like to take something and get it done. Sometimes maybe a little bit too fast, but I've learned, just been good about saying, let's think this through a little bit more, Ken. But I think definitely those 3 things are what you'll see from me. I'm honest, and I know that sounds very generic, but I think you have to be very honest with people and direct, and that is what you're going to get from me.
If you could have lunch with any person, who would it be and why?
This is hands down right now, Dr. Fauci. I'd love to have lunch with Dr. Fauci. I've got a lot of questions for Dr. Fauci. And I really would like to sit down and have a conversation with him and invite him to Carroll Lutheran Village. And I think that would be a great lunch at this point in time.
Do you have a favorite book or author?
You know, I do. There, kind of going back to sports, there was a coach for the Washington football team named Joe Gibbs. And he put out a book about 10, 12 years ago about leadership and motivation and dedication, and how you can take a team of 52 different personalities and attitudes and get them all in one direction. It's a great book. Fortunately, I forgot the name of the book, but I read it twice, and it was very impactful.
What about movie? What's your favorite movie?
Rudy. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Rudy. If we haven't, we should definitely play it here at CLV. It is a great movie. Why I like it? Because it is a true story. Also, I like it because my father-in-law went to Notre Dame, so there's a little bit of a tie-in there. And I think if you watch the movie over and over again, you take away a couple things that kind of tie back into your life. And so I could watch it a million times.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be? And more importantly, what would be your superhero name?
You may have me on this one. I'd like to have the superpower. Superpower would be, I'd like to blink my eyes and be able to get to a certain point quickly. So for an example, if I could walk out of our front lobby and blink my eye and be in Vienna, Virginia right away, I'd love it. So being able to blink and be somewhere, anywhere on this earth within seconds would be a great superpower. Name, come back to me on that.
All right. I'll give you a little bit of time. If I could blink and the pandemic would be over, that would be my wish list item. There's a few different pizza places I'd like to go to and actually sit at. So, what's on your bucket list?
Would definitely, that's another good question. I think my bucket list really consists of, I haven't really been out of the country too much. I went to Canada about 10, 12 years ago. I think to be able to travel to another country, Brazil, Spain, London, I think that definitely would be on my bucket list. Would definitely like to skydive. There's a lot of people who I've known who have actually done that as a bucket list request, and they said it was one of the best things that they ever did. Quite a learning experience. And I think probably the last thing, I would just love to be able to go and have the opportunity to meet some of the great sports legends, people that have made a big impact in people's lives that have played sports. So don't know specifically who that would be, but I think that's definitely one on my bucket list as well.
Now I would do the skydiving with you as well. Maybe we can get everybody at Lutheran Social Ministries and CLV and LVMG and see if anybody wants to join us, whether it's team members or residents. But I think it'd be a nice, fun activity.
That's right.
Hopefully we all come back. But so tell us about the last time that you laughed really hard, or a time that you laughed really hard.
Actually, it was probably 2 nights ago. I was watching Seinfeld, and that's a show that's been off the air for quite a while, and you kind of forget about how funny it was. And they were showing reruns on I can't remember what the network was, but I mean it had me rolling, laughing for at least 15 minutes. So. And TV, a good comedy on TV usually does that.
Being that you have 2 daughters and family, when you're in charge of making dinner, what's your go-to dish?
Spaghetti and meatballs, hands down. It's easy, it's quick, and everybody likes it.
Take the easy way out, Ken. Do you have any hidden talents?
No, not to really speak of. That's another one. You can come back to me on at another time. I think talent, not off the top of my head.
Ken and I share a few things in common. One of which is that we both sent our first kids off to college this year. Mine's in her second year and Ken's in her first. But I remember when I dropped off my daughter and I had dad advice. And the dad advice probably went longer than my daughter wanted to hear that day, and I think her roommate heard it as well. What kind of dad advice did you give your daughter?
Which was only 2 weeks ago. Couple things, and it wasn't in one short time frame. This dad advice started the ride down. So the advice was, the general advice was, wear a mask, use good judgment, and this wasn't really advice, this was more of a statement. I'm only 3 hours away.
Great advice. So that concludes our interview with Ken Connelly today. I'm sure there's many more questions we could ask him. There were a number of questions I tried to get him to answer, and he just said, no way, too crazy, Jeff, but maybe next time. But thank you for joining us here today. We appreciate your time, and hopefully you'll join us when Ann Kimsel is up next on her interview. We'll make sure we get the word out as early as possible. But don't hesitate to send in any burning questions that you may have, and we'll see if we can include them in our list. And I'm going to pass it to Ken to say farewell.
Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Jeff for inviting me, and again, you know, as kind of a goal, another goal, I really am trying to, in a safe manner, meet as many of our residents as I can. And the residents that I have met, you've been wonderful. You've given and provided some wonderful feedback, some very valuable feedback. And I really look forward to phone call, emails, safe meeting within 6 feet, mask on in our boardroom. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.